Welcome back to the latest installment of Wilbury Overland. I'm Michael Lee. I am the Overland guy. This is the traveling Wilbury, and this is what we're going to be working on today. Back to our roots. Today we're going to be talking about water. Now, I've taken my kids out several times. We have a great time in this. Every single time I have the exact same thought. Probably should have worked on the water first. You always need water, whether it's to wash your stuff off, whether it's to get a drink, you always need water. This thing was equipped to have water put into it, but there is no tank. And so today is the day we work on the tank. We're going to put a tank in here, we're going to put a pump in here, and we're going to plumb it. All right, lid. So that we can have a nice little faucet coming out of that hole down there. So we're going to clean this thing out a little bit. But in addition to that, we're putting a drain in the bottom here, whoop, down through that hole right there. As I've said on previous episodes, the original name of this channel was Oblivious Overlander because I don't know what I'm doing.
What am I doing?
And I definitely don't know what I'm doing here, which is the reason we waited so long to do this, because I feel completely unqualified and incompetent. But I want to try anyway, because everything I read online is that this is not very difficult.
Yeah, they can't put anything on the internet that isn't true.
Especially since the electric is already all geared up. So I just gotta connect the pump to this thing, get the water going, and then we'll be good to go. We'll see how it goes. Stay tuned. All right, so this is the tank that I bought, and I bought this forever ago. I really would have preferred having a tank that actually fills up the entire space. I don't have a tank guy. I've got a guy for just about everything. I don't have a tank guy. And so I just got this online on Amazon. I had to get something that would fit widthwise. It doesn't fit lengthwise. It's not long enough.
That's what she said.
I don't even know how many gallons it says. It's probably like 5 gallons or something. I don't know. Anyways, come over here, lid. Our inlet is here. This is where the water is going to come in. One of these two will be for the drain. It's about a 3/8 inch outlet, and the other one is going to be for the pump. We'll pump it out of here. With the drain, I don't really expect it to be for potable water. I was reading online that I've got to get like galvanized steel or whatever to make it for water. I'm not that worried about it. And I'm mostly doing it so that I've got some way that I can actually flush it out and get water out of the bottom. But first we've got to go to Ace right now. We've got to get a bunch of the piping stuff. So here we go. Because I have no chill, I brought the entire tank with me. But I'm glad I did. 5/8 inch is what I need. So I got some hose. I got the clamps, I got the nipples, that's right, and I'm good. So I know I'm coming back here 5 more times, but here you go. Stop number 1, finish. Well, a thought just occurred to me before I started tightening this thing up and taping it up. I need to see how it's going to fit in here, so genius right here. All right, lid. So this thing, it'll fit in here like this. Is that hole? Ah, the hole is exposed. Okay, good. So, if you see the outside right here, my water inlet's gonna go from there, and then I'll just run a hose over to here like that. Then, I'm going to take, I really hoped that it would have just been a straight shot. Maybe it will be. Hang on, stop yelling. When I line it up to where it's straight there, it's like right on top of it. Oh yeah, I can get it. Okay. All right, well, that'll be my drain. This will be out to my pump. So I also am going to insulate this compartment. Probably not necessary, but I want to. And it's my thing and do whatever I want. So there you go. So I'll just put some styrofoam insulation around all of the inside and everything. Hopefully it'll kind of hold it in place too. But we'll put the pump down here. We'll drain it out down there, and we should be golden. All right, stay tuned. We're going to be using some what is this? Thread seal tape. We're going to come straight out of this little outlet right here. And I've got this with the barbed end on it. Hopefully, see if I got it right. Oh, like a glove. All right, so I'm going to wrap the threads with this to keep it from leaking everywhere. We'll see how well that I do. And then after that, through the barbed end, I've got just this 3/8 inch pipe, or hose, I guess. And this hose will connect to, wait for it, hold. There it is. Our pump. So, I think I got it right. I think 3/8 inches is right. And so, water getting sucked out, water getting blown out the other side. Let's hope that I do this right. Here we go.
So, just in case you're wondering, I wouldn't know. You put the barbed edge on this so that it can slide into a hose and then it won't pop back out of the hose. And this is as easy as it looks. Just screw it on and tighten it down.
Barbed edge is on. This is for everybody out there who doesn't know what they're doing either. I inherited a bunch of stuff from the guy that sold me the trailer, among which was like some old hoses and things. And this is still in the package, so I'm like, oh, it's gonna be good and clean and everything. And I got this, and it's got two hoses inside of it, and then it's got this corrugated, plexi hose thing. And I spent so much longer than I should have spent trying to figure out how does it work. Like, what is the meaning of this? What does this mean? And I convinced myself that obviously I've got to vent out some air, and then obviously this is for where the water goes in. And I'm thinking, okay, so one of these hoses hooks up to the air, and the other one. Anyways, long story short, I spent maybe an hour Googling everything else until I finally realized that this is just how they shipped it. And that these are just extra hoses. One will be for the air, but it doesn't stay in here. It's just hooks up. Lydia, no laughing. All right, so moving on.
Once again, nothing really fancy here. I just used some hose clamps and this corrugated tubing that I'm sure that you could just pick up anywhere, but I just happen to have it left over from the guy that I bought the trailer from.
Okay, so this is how it will sit when it's actually in the trailer. Water coming in through here, water going out from here to the pump, and then the drain is here. Because I'm going to be funneling the drain down and underneath the trailer, it's probably not a big deal. I could probably do it with like plastic pipe, but I'm going to do it with steel pipe. I read online that stainless steel is probably best, or galvanized steel, but I'm not drinking out of it. So I'm going to go straight out of here, straight down, and then out to a valve. So I would go to the place, the Helpful Hardware folks, but they do not have all the parts that I need. So I'm gonna run into town, which is a rural way of saying to a place that has a Lowe's, and I am going to get all those parts. Here I go. Okay, we're doing the drain. Now we're doing the drain. We're gonna do galvanized pipe. This is just to get it out. I have no idea what I'm doing here. I'm so intimidated for some reason by plumbing, but all right. I think I've got all the pieces. Now I'm gonna get a valve, and then how much you want to bet I'm gonna come back here 5 times? Take that bet. Okay, this is what ultimately I decided on. I think it's gonna work. Who knows? Coming out of this is 3/8. So I've got a 3/8 inch piece of threaded pipe that then goes to a 3/8 to 1/2 inch. The only reason I chose to go up to a 1/2 inch is because I'm pretty sure that the hole that he put underneath the trailer is a 1/2 inch pipe, and it's fine. And then at the very end of it, just a valve. I'll just be able to turn on and off, and that's how it works. We'll see.
I did get a little bit ahead of myself here because I'm putting the tank and everything together, but like I've mentioned a couple of times, I had every intention at this point of insulating the inside of the box. And so even though you can see me putting the tank together here, I'm going to jump in a second over to purchasing some heat barriers and some insulation for the inside of the tank. But in the meantime, you can see here I'm trying to use the plumber's tape to make sure that all of these places where I've got a connection coming together, I'm minimizing the possibility for leakage as much as possible, and it seems to work out. So there you go. You just make sure you wrap this on all the threads, and then when I tighten stuff down on there, it makes sure that it's nice and clean fit. In any video that I watch, this is always some of the most gratifying work, when you see just the filthy inside of something that needs restoration is the wrong word, but basically needs restoration. And you get in here, take a little broom, make sure you clean it up. Oof, satisfying. Now, just as like plumbing, I really don't know what I'm doing with electricity either, but I can see and recognize a loose wire when I see one. So I've got a bunch of loose wires coming in here, and just to make sure that it was all clean so it was easy to get around with the insulation, I just bought some of this tubing. Just kind of slice it down the middle and then group all the wires together, put them all inside of a tube so that they're not just flopping around. And so I just kind of collected this up, cleaned it up, made it look nice. And next, we're able to move on to getting the insulation installed. And by the way, spoiler alert, it looks great when it's done.
All right, just finished making my third trip to the hardware store. Won't be my last, but I got the insulation, and I'm feeling good about that. Like I said, probably completely unnecessary, but I like it, and so I'm going to do it. So just kind of make it look nice in there, put an insulation, and then I'll actually probably, once again, totally unnecessary, I'll probably put those carpet squares in there because I like that too. So carpet squares and insulation. I don't intend for this water to remain ice cold or whatever, but I live in the American Southwest. I live in Utah. It gets hot. And if I'm going to go for a day or two, I don't want to have my water be boiling every time I touch it. So there you go. I'll be installing that maybe tonight, and let's see if we can get this going.
So because I've got the room inside that metal compartment, I went with 1 inch thick, just styrofoam. It's got a heat barrier on one side of it, but I still, as you can see here, add the heat barrier on the inside as well, because why not? But I just laid it down on the inside here, just came in a roll. And then once I've got it laid down, I just, in a very haphazard way, just cut it right into the corner seam there. And then as soon as I've got that in there, it made it really, really easy for me to be able to just get some inch thick styrofoam, shove it up inside there. And even though I did glue it down, I'm able to just use the pieces of styrofoam to just hold each other into place here. So that there's really not a ton of movement at all in there, which with me going off-road and everything is the dream, right? You don't want this stuff to be able to just flop around and look janky. So you can see here, just kind of, you jam it up against itself, make it so that it fits nice and snug, and then, yeah, you've all of a sudden taken just an empty, hot metal box and made it something, hopefully, a little bit less hot and a little less metal of a box than it was before. So before I put the carpet squares on here, I put the tank on the inside just to make sure that everything was lining up right and everything was fitting right, now that I've taken an inch off of each side. And now that I see that it's fitting just right, I determined I'm going to put a heat barrier also on the lid, just like I'm putting around the rest of it, although I'm not putting styrofoam up on the lid. I am very glad that I did this, because I did determine at this point, as you can see with the lid, the locking mechanism on the lock closest to the camera, it runs into the tank, which makes it impossible for me to close it. No big deal. I decided I'm going to take these brackets off the top anyway, and while I was at it, I determined I'm also going to have to take apart some of that locking mechanism. So it won't actually work anymore, but that's okay. The other side will still shut, and the whole thing will be able to shut down and shut tight. But the locking mechanism, if it's on there while I've got the tank on there, it won't shut all the way, and that's a non-starter for me. And so as you can see here, I started taking apart the locking mechanism, which a little disappointing, but it's fine. I'm not going to lose any sleep over that. Cutting out the heat barrier for this thing ended up being a little bit more complicated and tedious than I had intended, but then again, that really could be the story of my life, probably my epitaph. A little bit more complicated and tedious than it needed to be, but there it is, story of my life. Just had to cut around the locking mechanisms to make sure that it would all fit. In the end, I ended up just kind of jigsawing and puzzle piecing this whole thing together. But I feel good about having at least an attempt made. An attempt is made to make that part of it a little bit cleaner. And now I admit that this adding the carpet in here is purely aesthetic, but I like it. I think that it actually ends up looking really, really good. So I just take these carpet squares that I got off of Amazon. They just got an adhesive backing on them, and I just cut them to size, and I tape them down, and in the end, it ends up looking like, you know, a compartment that's not just, you know, an afterthought.
Okay, all right, so we've got all of the peripheral junk done with this thing now. So I've already punched holes in here for the out tank here, for going out there. This will hook up to the inlet tube here. And then this one right here, I will put our air. And so that means I've done all the work I can do now without doing the part that actually requires some technical know-how. And I don't know why I'm scared, but I'm scared. So I'm gonna do that next. Sun's gone down, probably gonna do it tomorrow. Here we go. All right, finally putting down some pipe. I've got my piece pipe here. I'm gonna get underneath right now. I'm going to use the fancy tape, it was $1. Make sure that there's no leaks, and all right, here we go.
Well, not the best camera angle, admittedly, but at least you can see that I did the work. So here I am, tightening it on and getting up underneath there. I did over tighten it, and I hope I didn't damage the plastic, but at the very least, we're able to get the pipe in here, screw it on, make sure that it holds that tank down, and make sure that it fits up inside that hole, and then I can send the valve out to the other side.
All right, here comes a moment of truth. First of a couple. I over tightened it. And I hope I didn't strip out the plastic, because if I stripped out the plastic, I don't know what I do to fix that. I guess I'll just have to really tape it up a lot, but I don't want to deal with the leaky outlet. But anyways, I've got the pipe in, and I've got it coming out here. Ugh. So pretty simple, coming to here. This is my drain. So we're gonna try running some water through it and see if it holds it or if I'm gonna have to worry about leaks. Here we go. All right, that leaking's not from any of my fittings. That's just, maybe I can figure out a better spigot or something, but that's just coming from the hose filling up. Right now it doesn't look like I've got anything leaking right there. So I think what the plan is gonna be right now is I'm gonna fill this up with a couple gallons. And then I'm gonna come back here later and see if it's holding. And then we can start testing out to make sure that all the other fittings are good. If so, I will drill this thing into place, put some clamps on it here, and then I'll get working on the pump.
Well, good news was no leaks, and well, no major leaks. I got these hose clamps, put these on, made it so that the water had no place to go except down the hose, which is exactly where I wanted to send it, and tightened the crap out of these things, and turned out great. So, win for me. And now comes the part where it actually, you know, makes it alive, whatever, Frankenstein's monster here, putting the pump together. So, just running the exact same hose just right over here to the in, and then I've got another hose in a second that I'm going to come going back out. And yeah, did not check this before I put it in, but spoiler alert, it does end up working correctly. So probably should have tested it first, but anyways. Now, I am clearly jumping around a little bit here because I don't think anyone wants to watch me put every freaking piece of hose on this thing. But suffice to say, I got that hose, it went out, it now goes up to a little faucet, and I got the pump here, and no, I don't have any of the electrical hooked up yet. But I'm screwing it down, and it is at this point that I say I need to call my electrician brother-in-law. He's going to come out and actually, you know, do the dirty deed of hooking up the electrical so that when I turn on my faucet, it actually works. And yeah, screwing this down, I just drilled out a couple of pilot holes, and then I just used a socket wrench to just put it down and sink it in. And with the amount of tugging and pulling and tightening and everything I've done on this so far, it holds and it's good. So pump is in place. Next, the electrical. Well, based on my brother-in-law's less than pleased reaction, I don't believe that he was aware of the fact that I had every intention of filming this. But anyways, it was a simple thing, but I'm too intimidated by electrical to do it myself. It's just two wires coming out of the pump. All he does is he wires it from the pump up to one of the pre-existing toggle switches I've got there, and then once I toggle that thing on, my pump starts working. And yeah, pretty simple, and looks really nice when it's done. So now, after it was all said and done, the time has finally come to run the test, to see if this thing actually works. I was very nervous to do this, but this is a real-time thing. I actually did not test it before we filmed it.
Number one, check. Number two, come here. Oh! Up here. Oh! Oh! So here at the very end of it, what we ended up having was this beautiful thing laid out just right. Our water coming in through there, going out this way. A little drain. Lydia, get down here. Boom. Got drain water there. And no leaks. None. Not a leak to be found. So, after it's all said and done, that's the latest installment of Wilbury Overland. I'm gonna go inside because it's freaking freezing. See you next time.